I'm going to try and keep this intro short, but this video is about the extraction of piperine from black pepper. Definitely not a unique concept. It's been done ad nauseum on various YouTube channels, but I'd like to start doing more chemistry related videos, and I thought this was a good place to start. I had all the chemicals on hand, and I've done it before, so yeah. So we're just going to go over piperine briefly. What it is, its derivative, piperidine, and then we're going to go over the procedure that we are following. And after this intro clip, I'm just going to show you the SOxLit extraction itself that we'll be running. And then after that, we'll get into the theoretics, the procedure, and then it'll just be walking through the process. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. I'll get right into it. So this is our SOxLit extractor setup, and this is what we are using to extract the piperine. Right off the bat, I'm going to say that this is a very scuffed setup. Ideally, I'd be using a heating mantle and whatever, but it works, so this is what we're going with, and this is what I have available at the moment. But yeah, just to go over how it works, so we have the hot plate down here, and this is isopropyl alcohol, 99%, in the bottom flask, and it's heated to about 70-75 degrees to the boiling point, where it then vaporizes and travels up this side arm here. This one, that one right there, and it comes up through here, and then we have a condenser on top which has water passing through it. You can see there's the water outlet at the top, and then at the bottom there's an inlet with a pump pushing water through it, or circulating water. So we have kind of a colder temperature gradient over at the top. So what that does is it causes the isopropanol that's been vaporized to then condense, transition back into a liquid. So as it does so, it drips down onto our material to be extracted, and eventually it will fill up to the apex of this siphon on the side. Right there, and then after it crosses the apex, it begins to flow down this other side of the siphon, where it goes down and drains back into the boiling flask. It's very useful for doing extractions of botanical material, and it has the benefit of recycling the solvent continuously. So you have like hot solvent dripping down and then going back into the boiling flask, where it can then re-evaporate, and it can do that as many cycles as you want, more or less. So yeah, I love this piece of glassware, and the level of liquid in the extraction chamber is equal to the level of liquid on the siphon. So as it increases, the liquid in the siphon increases. You can kind of see it pushing up a little bit, and then eventually it drains down. And there's no, like, the bottom of the extraction chamber is not open to this down stem type thing. Like, right there is closed off, so the only way that the vapor can pass is through this side arm. And then the only way it can go back down is through the siphon. Yeah, so as you can see, our boiling flask is full of dark brown liquid, and I've already ran a few cycles through it, and so I'm going to keep running cycles until the extractant seems relatively clear, and then we will proceed from there. I thought I'd go on and first show you the setup, just because it's more practical and interesting, before I go into the theoretics and put people to sleep. So I'm gonna keep an eye on this, and I'm gonna go and explain more about Piperine itself, what it's useful for, and I'll go over the overall procedure that we're gonna be going through. Oh, and also, I'll insert a clip here after the next time it cycles and siphons back down, just to show you the siphoning action, because that's pretty cool. All right, so here we have piperine, this molecule right here. And as you can see, it has a nitrogen heterocycle attached to a carbonyl group, and then a few unsaturated carbons in a chain attached to this benzene with a methylene dioxy group. So piperine, like I said, is found in black peppercorns. I think at like 5 to 10%. 10 might be a little high, probably closer to 5. And it is responsible for like the pungent, I guess, spiciness of the black pepper. And one of the reasons that it's interesting and that I wanted to cover it specifically is because by reacting it with nitric acid, you cleave this bond here and you're left with piperidine. And piperidine is very pervasive in pharmaceuticals, and I'm just going to go over a few pharmaceuticals that it's present in and can be used in the manufacturing of. Oh yeah, and before I get into that, the way that piperine elicits its taste effect, you know, its pungency, is through the TRPV1 and 2 receptors. And these are peripheral nociceptive receptors. That is, they're found in the peripheral nervous system, and they detect pain, or well, they transmit pain from various forms of stimuli, whether mechanical or through, you know, temperatures and such. And these ones specifically are the ones that piperine binds to and makes the brain think that you have consumed something hot. By activating them, it sends a signal that tells the brain essentially that something hot has activated these receptors. So that kind of gives it the illusion, in a sense, of heat in the mouth. So yeah, on to piperidine. This is by no means a comprehensive list here of pharmaceuticals that are derived from piperidine or that have a piperidine group in them, but I thought I'd go over some notable ones. And first of all, there's so many different types of molecules here, or rather, they target so many different sites. Like, it's not like piperidine is just used in one type of drug. It's very pervasive in different types, and or rather drugs that have different actions on the central nervous system. So it's found in paroxetine, which is an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, antidepressant. It's also found in methylphenidate as well as ethylphenidate, which are both NDRIs, or norepinephrine dopamine reuptake inhibitors. Same with Piperdol, which is also an NDRI. And those act as stimulants. Atypical in the sense that they don't act like amphetamines, but they're still CNS stimulants nonetheless. So then we also have raloxifene, which is a selective estrogen receptor modulator, which is interesting. I don't really know too much about it, but I thought that worth noting. Then we have some antipsychotics here. We have haloperidol as well as other peridol type classical antipsychotics like droperidol and other ones as well, but I just put haloperidol to encompass those, and that is a dopamine 2 receptor antagonist. So then we have risperidone, which is an atypical antipsychotic, which works through antagonism of the serotonin, dopamine, and adrenergic receptors. So then we have opioids. It's present in fentanyl. I don't think I really need to introduce fentanyl. I'm pretty sure most people watching this would be aware of what fentanyl is. Then we have loperamide, which is interesting because it's not, well, it's an interesting drug to me because it's an opioid, right? But it doesn't, in therapeutic doses, cross the blood-brain barrier. So it's a peripheral acting opioid, which is used to treat diarrhea. It's an anti-diarrheal medication, if I recall correctly. I mean, I would assume so because triggering of the peripheral opioid receptors in the gut tends to reduce intestinal motility and reduce the flow of diarrhea, I guess, or to promote formation into solid stools. So we have pethidine, another opioid. And then we have, I wrote PCP et al., PCP and its derivatives and other ones. And then the two last ones are actually chemical warfare agents. They are anticholinergics, and that is Ditran and JB336. Not much information about those, but once again, I thought it was interesting, so I thought I'd mention those. I feel like I should kind of clarify and say here that I'm not making piperine so that I can make piperidine. I don't really have any interest in making piperidine at the moment. If I did, I might be interested in exploring maybe one of the legal derivatives of it, like paroxetine or, raloxifene, loperamide even, but I don't have any desire to make anything illegal here. I just thought that this pertains to my other interest of pharmacology, and so I thought it was worth mentioning. So now I'm going to go into the procedure itself. So first step, the very first step was obtaining the peppercorns and grinding them to a consistency where they weren't, where it's not like a fine powder, but it's not like full peppercorns, right? Like it's a mix with powder and like smaller granules of peppercorn, because it needs, the Soxhlet extractor needs to have the ability for the liquid to flow through it. So if you make it too fine, it's going to have flow issues and drainage issues. And if you do it too coarse, you're not exposing as much surface area of the material to extract. So it's kind of a balance there, and I think I've got it right here. So after that, the first step is Soxhlet extraction, which is what I showed you in the beginning. And I'm going to be cycling this for a few hours, or until it goes clear, or rather until the extractant liquid goes clear. And after that, and like I said, the Soxhlet extraction is using 99% isopropanol. Ideally, I would probably want to use dichloromethane, but I don't have any at my disposal at the moment. So then after Soxhlet extraction comes filtration. Some of the granules, the solid material, does pass through the siphon. I try to minimize that. I use a little metal filter, and I tried to put a little baseline of actual solid peppercorns at the bottom to try and mitigate that a little bit. But there's still going to be some solids that pass through. So I'm going to filter that, collect the filtrate, and then I'm going to distill it to reduce the volume of liquid, because we have a fairly large amount of isopropanol that we're working with currently, and we want to reduce that volume. So I'll reduce that, I guess kind of play it by ear on how much I'll go down to. I'm not sure what the most efficient amount would be for the next step, but next we're going to be dissolving potassium hydroxide in isopropanol, and we're going to be basifying the solution. We're going to be adding that to the extracted mixture. So what that's supposed to do is, allegedly, it makes some of the compounds that are undesirable here, like resins and fats and and acids. It's supposed to make those insoluble in the isopropanol, so they will precipitate out of solution, ideally, where we can then filter it again, get rid of those, dispose of them, and then we'll be adding distilled water to precipitate out the piperine from the isopropanol, because piperine's solubility in water is much lower, or rather like close to insoluble when compared to isopropanol. So if we have it dissolved in a small amount of isopropanol and we add a bunch of water, it'll crash out a lot of it. Not all of it, but you know, that's we're going for purity here, not really yield. After that, we're going to crystallize it, and what that means is essentially we're just going to stick it in the fridge for a few days. Hopefully some crystals will form. Usually during the first crystallization, the crystals aren't pretty. They'll be pretty small, and what we're looking for is something at least large enough to then filter again and recrystallize. So after we crystallize it the first time, we will then filter off what crystals we obtain, and then we will recrystallize it from isopropanol. So the original crystallization will be with water and isopropanol, but then what we're going to do is recrystallize it. Oh, you can't see that. But then what we're going to do is recrystallize it from a small amount of isopropanol. So we're going to add just enough isopropanol to dissolve the piperine and have close to a saturated solution, and then we're going to put that in the fridge, let it sit for a few days. I might use a seed crystal as well from another batch that I've done. And then after that, it's just a matter of filtering off the liquid. It'll probably still contain some piperine, but like I said, we're going for quality over quantity here. Yeah, so that kind of wraps up the procedure. I'll take you through it step by step. So yeah, I will keep you guys updated. Looks like we're gonna have another cycling of the extraction pretty soon. There we go. Didn't quite pull all of the liquid out there, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it running for a few more cycles because it's still a piss yellow looking color, and that generally indicates that there is still something being extracted. So I'll keep you guys updated. Guys, just a little update. We are about to hit our unknown number of cycles, and I think I'm going to cut it off here once it finishes draining. And I'm going to set up my distillation apparatus, and then we will try and get some of this volume down. So as I mentioned earlier and then promptly forgot, first we're going to have to filter this before distillation. So just got a little bit of a Buchner funnel here.
In German, it's a German name after all. This is said as Buchner.
Don't really need vacuum filtration. And we are just going to make sure there are no solids in there. As you can see, there is a bit of sediment that made it through. So I'm going to wash this flask out and reuse it for the distillation. So here we have our scuffed but slightly less scuffed distillation apparatus, and I'm just gonna let this baby cook. Got rid of most of the sediment, so I'm just gonna get some of this isopropanol to fuck off over into this flask. We'll take the rest that's left in there and then we will basify it. Hey guys, so I ended up actually cutting the distillation short because I'm starting to notice some precipitant forming. We have more liquid than I thought we would, but so what we're going to do is go on and basify it with some potassium hydroxide. I'm going to put in about... Alrighty, my scale isn't working, so I guess we're going to play it fast and loose here. I'm going to eyeball about 3 grams, 2.5 maybe. I don't really think the quantity of base is too important here, so that is definitely too much. They say it's only scientific if you're measuring shit, so I guess we're not doing science anymore now. I don't know, I guess I'd say that's close to somewhere around 3 grams. So we're going to dump the potassium hydroxide in there. I'm gonna get this heating, and potassium hydroxide doesn't dissolve particularly well in isopropanol, so this may take a minute, hence why I'm using a reflux setup. Unfortunately, this heating mantle does not have stirring. I'm sure that would be quite helpful in this instance. Alright guys, so it looks like all the potassium hydroxide dissolved. I ended up switching to the hot plate here. The glass is not touching it. I'm mostly using it for the stirring because my mantle doesn't have stirring, and the stirring definitely helped. So what I'm going to do is transfer the contents of this flask into this flask. Hopefully we should see some precipitate forming, and that will be the undesirable constituents coming out of solution, which we will then filter. I'm going to put my mic down so I have 2 hands, and if I say anything, hopefully it picks it up. I probably should have waited for it to cool down completely. You can probably see there was some vapor forming from, you know, the heated isopropanol alkali mixture hitting the cooler glass of this room temperature flask. Not a great look, not great to breathe in. I tried not to, but anyway, so here we have our solution. I'm just gonna swirl it around a little bit. All right, so I'm just gonna let this sit for a bit, and I'm gonna loosely stopper this. Hopefully when I come back, we'll see more precipitate. Now I'm gonna filter the basic solution and get rid of the resin, hopefully. Would you look at all that fucking sludge? That's good that we seem to have gotten rid of a lot of the resins and such. This still contains like fine particles of shit we don't want, so I'm gonna run it through the pretty glass Buchner funnel and hopefully get rid of that. Then we can go on and crash it out with water. Also, don't laugh at my my vacuum pump here. My actual mechanical one broke, so we're gonna be doing this by hand, the old-fashioned way. So I'm gonna go on and pour in our liquid. And I may as well wash that flask with a little bit of isopropanol, although I don't think it will make a huge difference. So you can see there are some very fine particles there. I'm using very fine grade filter papers here. I forgot what micron, but pretty fucking small, so managed to trap that excess there. So there we have it. Alright, so I'm gonna crush the piperine out with some distilled water. I'm just going to keep adding water until looks like there is nothing left to crash out. That's nice. Whew. Damn, that is milky. Holy shit. Well, I'm at the approximate capacity of my liter flask here, and if there is any left in there, it's whatever. Looks like we have a fuck ton of precipitate. I have never seen it so opaque, so like opaquely white. Usually it's more of a orange juice color. So I'm hoping this is a good thing, and that just means that there's a huge concentration of the piperine in there, but who knows. So next I'm just gonna put this in the fridge for, I don't know, a day or two, and then I'll filter out any of the solids. So I'll get back to you in 2 days. Okay, so we've had the solution sitting in the fridge for a day or two, and I'm gonna go on and see if I'm able to collect any of the solids that have precipitated out. And I'm not quite sure if I waited long enough. It seems like they are very fine particles, but I figured I might as well go on and see if we have anything to collect yet. And if not, I can just stick it back in the fridge and give it a few more days. So I'm thinking that we have some of the precipitate, but we're losing a lot back in the solution. So I'll probably end up collecting this and then maybe even adding more water to the filtrate and then putting it back in the fridge and then doing another filtration in a day or two. But we'll see what we have after this. This is what I managed to collect from the filtration. It's still very wet, and so I'm sticking on the hot plate on very low heat to try and dry it out some. I think we have a huge amount of piperine still in the original extractant solution. So I went on and waited another 2 days. I combined all the filtered solids and then added it to some isopropanol. I added a little bit too much isopropanol, and right now I'm just boiling this down a bit and reducing the volume, and then I'm gonna let it recrystallize from the isopropanol. So I should be done with this by the end of the night, and I'm thinking I'll wait till it's about down to maybe 25 milliliters, 30 milliliters, and then I'll let it slowly recrystallize. And yeah, I will get back to you once I see some crystals forming. Alright guys, this is our final yield here. I dried it out a bit, and yeah, so it's not really what I was expecting. I was looking for a much larger yield than this, and I was looking for better crystals. There were some crystals, but you know, they got like fucked up when I was trying to take it out of the flask. And yeah, so this is it, Piperine. Yippee. Alright, so before we close this video out, I'm gonna see if I can get a decent dry mount view of the Piperine under this compound microscope. So I'm just gonna add a little bit to a slide, and we will see what we can see. So there's the slide. Got pretty fine powder of piperine in there. I'm gonna see if I can take a look at the microcrystal structure of it. So here we have it under 64 times magnification. It's a bit hard to film with a phone. You can kind of make out some of the crystals there. So here we have 160 times magnification. Oop. There we fuck. You can get a better look at the structure there. Although the phone doesn't really do it justice here, it's kind of fucky. So here we have 640 times magnification. And this is beginning to get hard to focus on crystals. Because the more magnification, the smaller the window of focus is. I managed to get a decent focus on some of these crystals here, so. I do have an objective lens that's 1600 times magnification, but that's an oil lens and I don't have any oil. I mean, I could maybe try and do a water droplet and see, I guess. Alright guys, so that just about wraps it up. Like I said, I mean, not the prettiest crystals, not the best yield, but I don't really think that's too important. I thought that this was a good exercise for me. It was a learning experience for me. I've done this before, but there's always more to learn. I'm not sure exactly what changed this time. The last time I got a much better yield, but it's something to think about, I guess. I think a lot of it was lost in the aqueous solutions. Didn't precipitate out fully, or precipitated into microparticles that just wouldn't get captured by the filter. So whatever, though, I'm still happy with this. I think this made a good video, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So like I said, I'm going to be doing more chemistry videos, more ones that are more involved in this in the future. This was kind of just dipping my toes in the water, but I'm excited for that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video.